What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Skin in the Game. I am your host, Austin Thompson, aka OZ. And what a crazy last few days. What a crazy week it has been to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Man, it has just been news after news, updates after updates. We played the Titans over the weekend, horrible performance, and it looks like the fourth preseason game. I put out a tweet saying the Chiefs are the first team in NFL history to have three preseason games at the beginning of the season, and they have three preseason games at the end of the season. So what a crazy kind of weekend it's been, losing to the Titans, and then man, the big news Monday. It was kind of speculated over the weekend, and you kind of got different vibes, different news articles saying, "Oh, the Chiefs moving to Kansas. Oh, they're staying." And we get the news, the Kansas City Chiefs are moving to Kansas. Yes, the flyover state, as Governor Kelce calls it, the touchdown state. What a kind of historic day for the state of Kansas. Born and raised in Kansas, lived in Wyandotte County, KCK for a long time, went to school in the county as well. So the Chiefs are moving to my hometown, and it is just, I'm super pumped about it. I know a lot of Chiefs fans aren't super happy about it, which is kind of unfortunate because I think it brings positive things to the franchise. I think getting a new stadium opens a lot of avenues such as Super Bowls, concert, year-round events, and just an economic growth for a city that is, I would say, not necessarily stunted its growth, but hasn't had that exponential growth. And so this is going to kind of do everything for Wyandotte County and KCK as far as the economics, bringing people into the county, and just having tax dollars, revenue, all of those things. So an awesome day for Kansas, and just a crazy week for the state of Kansas, for the crazy week to be a Chiefs fan. And I know it's going to be a lot of ups and downs as far as, Missourians are really upset. Jackson Countyans are upset that the Chiefs are leaving. Missouri's lost two franchises since maybe over the last 10 years, with the St. Louis Rams leaving, going to LA. And now in 5 years, the Chiefs are going to be moving from 25 minutes away, so not that far, but from the Missouri side to the Kansas side. What a crazy turn of events. What a just crazy weekend. So should be a nice show. We're kind of dwindling towards the end of the season, and we're getting to that point where it's maybe not as exciting to talk about some of these things like the loss to the Titans. We do have a nice topic about the Chiefs moving to Kansas, but it's going to be hard to talk about the loss of the Titans because, who cares? Or the coming game of the Denver Broncos versus Chiefs on Christmas Day. It's like we're really looking forward to the offseason already. We're already looking for key free agents. We're already looking for mock drafts and where the Chiefs are going to fall. They're going to get pick 8 or they're going to get pick 14. The season is done, but there's still some things to discuss, and there's still a lot of things that you can evaluate, especially if like you're a real ball knowledge guy, or like you really want to see young guys perform and develop, Jaden Hicks, or, some of these younger guys, Brashard Smith. You're going to watch those games and really kind of try to pick out positive things, even though losing to the Titans is just a horrible, horrible thing. But yeah, so we got a lot to talk about. So we're going to talk about the loss of the Titans. We'll move on to free agents, as far as the broadcast kind of brought up all of the key free agents the Chiefs have this year going into the offseason. So we'll talk about that and kind of who I think they should retain, who that I think they should let walk. We'll talk about the big news that the Chiefs moving to Kansas, just such a crazy, crazy story. And again, it is just huge news, and it's almost mind-boggling that the Chiefs are doing such a thing. I think it's any other NFL team, I think, moving, it doesn't kind of spark this this attention that the Chiefs are getting, especially just with recent success. The Chiefs are just gaining so much attention on this, just moving 25 minutes away. I mean, you've heard about Denver. Denver's getting a new stadium, and it's in a different spot. They're building, they moved the Chargers and built SoFi. And yes, it's a great stadium and all that, but you didn't get this backlash and this buzz of Clark Hunt and all these things compared to the news breaking for the Chiefs. So it's a big deal, guys. It's a big deal, and I'm really excited to talk about that. And then we'll finish off with the Christmas Day game and it's again one of those things that it's going to be hard to talk about. It's going to be hard to find any positive or light in that game. Reality, what you want to see is the Chiefs play the young guys and hope they lose, so they can, they can get a better draft pick. So, but let's dive into the loss versus the Titans and kind of, just evaluate what you can really pull from that game. Like I said, it felt like a preseason game. I'm sure a lot of people kind of felt the same way, where normal Chiefs fans may watch the preseason game, but you're not really paying attention as far as like key details, stuff like that. I will be honest, I didn't get to watch the entire game to that full detail extent. We were leaving church and it just kind of dragged on a little bit. And, we had, talked to some friends and stuff like that. So, didn't get to catch on until middle to end of the first quarter, but basically it still felt like a preseason game throughout the entire thing. It felt like you were just really looking for who's in, who's playing, who's getting snaps, those kind of things. And we had kind of talked about last week that we were really hoping the Chiefs were going to play the young guys, that they were going to play Brashard Smith, that they were going to play Jaden Hicks, that they were going to leave Esapole in at left tackle. You're going to see some snaps from the international player, right tackle. You were going to see snaps from Jalen Royals. Like, we were really hoping that these young guys would get the opportunity. Jeffrey Bossa. These are other guys that you were hoping were going to get 50% of the snaps, 60% of the snaps, because as much as they're professionals, as much as we know, there's a certain pride that some of these players hold. Chris Jones is going to play, his heart out. Travis Kelce's playing very hard. Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith playing very hard. Two Pro Bowl tackles or linemen, excuse me. And you see them getting very angry and upset on the sideline after giving up a safety. It's things that, like, you see the pride and you see players being proud, like having the pride to compete and not just give up, which you love, but you have to look kind of at a bigger scope, kind of zoom out a little bit. And the reality is that these are good opportunities for players to develop. It's, even though you didn't expect to get killed, I think, by the Titans, I don't think the Chiefs actually thought they would go in and lose by 17 to Tennessee, even with Gardner Minshew. And of course, him hurting his knee, you thought it was an ACL tear, but it ended up being not as bad. But you lose your backup quarterback very early on. And so you got to bring in your practice squad, Chris Oladukin, who, for what it's worth, played very well. And you kind of saw for a guy that was on the practice squad last week, he played very well. And so what you saw was kind of the difference in how much Mahomes really is carrying this team. And he's kind of he's the glue guy. He's the guy that is keeping the Band-Aids on these certain wounds, if you want to call them. Because when Gardner Minshew, who is the system quarterback, and what I mean by that is he's a guy that 3-step drop, slant, 3-step drop, post, some of the, he operates on what the play is, versus Mahomes is more of the, you have the play, but he's going to do a lot of improvising, running around, trying to find guys open, extending the plays, things like that. So you would assume the system guy would play well because they've schemed the system for the quarterback. Well, what you saw was Gardner Minshew didn't play well for the time that he got to play. And when they bring in Chris Oladukin, who had basically less than a week of practice, and you didn't scheme anything for him, but he was more of an improviser in the game. You saw him running around, extending plays, things like that. He did better than Gardner Minshew. And so what that is doing, and what that brings to my attention, is that the scheme is horrible. That the coaching and scheme for the offense is just horrible. And going into next season, the Chiefs can't have a scheme like that. Mahomes coming off an ACL tear, LCL tear, he has to become more of a schemed quarterback than he is now as an improviser quarterback. And so that's why Matt Nagy's going to go. There's reports about he basically didn't want to take his extension, whether he thinks that he can go get a head coaching job. My theory is that it's kind of like a Clark Hunt. We don't want to fire you in public. This is your firing, is you're not going to sign an extension. That we're just going to part ways, and we're not going to embarrass you where you can't get a job and you can try to go get a head coaching job. I know Tennessee was very, there's reports that they're very interested in Matt Nagy. But after that performance, I don't know if I would be interested in him. Just based on the performance that the Chiefs put up against him. And I think it's a disservice. The players that they played, Juju Smith-Schuster getting 90% of the snaps that's a failure, guys. That is a failure to development. That is a failure to next season. You're choosing to play a guy who is 10 years in the league, knows your system and all that, but you winning this game doesn't help you at all. I mean, we're going to get to these free agents. Half the guys are going to be gone. These 3 games are supposed to be an opportunity to develop and get snaps, real game time against real NFL players for guys that you might not have played this year. You're treating Jalen Royals like he's a freshman in college redshirting, when this would have been a great game for him to get more than 3 snaps. He should have got more than 3 snaps. Like, Brashard Smith should have been every other snap with Isaiah Pacheco, and then Kareem Hunt should have been the short down back. But it's insane to me that you are not playing the young guys, but then you're going to allow Pacheco to play as many snaps as and actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back, and I kind of understand why they would play Pacheco. They're playing Pacheco because they want to be loyal to him in a sense of he can show off talent going somewhere else, because he's not coming back either. But again, this game against the Titans was a disservice when it comes to looking towards the future. Looking toward the future of 2026, looking toward the rookies that you drafted, getting them more playing time. Like against the Broncos, this game has to be all about how many snaps can you get Jaden Hicks, Jeffrey Bassa, Esapole, Brashard Smith, Jalen Royals. Those 5-6 guys, they got to play 70% of the snaps. I mean, the pride gets in the way. You can't have pride when you know that these things do not mean anything. Like, you're not even going to have a winning season. So there's no point. Like, they should put out on Friday or tomorrow, Wednesday, but the day before the game on Christmas, they should put out that Rashee Rice is out, Xavier Worthy's out, Leo Chenal's out, Trent McDuffie's out. I mean, they should have a list. Chris Jones should be out. Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith should be out. Every single guy should be out. And, I get if some guys want to play for incentives, things like that. Like, I get it. And to a certain extent, I may get it too, because this possibly is going to be Travis Kelce's last game at Arrowhead, Christmas Day. So, yes, maybe do guys want to play because Travis Kelce is going to play? But again, that is such a selfish thing that you're looking for in this season, and you're not looking for the future. But even still, give the guys that I mentioned, those 5 or 6 guys, Jaden Hicks, these things, like, for instance, Brian Cook gets injured in the game, comes off a few snaps, and then comes back in the game. At that point, let him sit. Let Jaden Hicks get snaps. But you're risking injury to possibly one of your free agents that you want to bring back next year by putting him back in, who just got injured, when you have a guy that needs development. It's just a horrible decision. It's a horrible decision by the Chiefs organization, by Andy Reid, by Spags, whoever makes that decision, Matt Nagy. It's horrible. It's a horrible call. And back to the scheme, Mahomes has been, I underestimated how much, I'm almost underestimating how good Mahomes is. And what I mean by that is that, guys, this team is bad without him. Like, they are bad. That was a 2-12 Titans team. That team is not good. They have some good players. Cam Ward may be promising. Jeffrey Simmons on the D-line, stud. But that team is bad. And you looked like a high school playing a D2 college. Like, an Andy Reid-led team looked horrible, unprepared. And again, I get it. Second string quarterback, third string quarterback. But guys, the game should have been way closer than 26-9 or whatever it is. I mean, it was horrible. there's it's just it's disappointing. It's disappointing. And not because I wanted them to win, but to like if you lost 26-9 and you played those six guys 90% of the snaps, Juju plays 10%, Hollywood Brown plays 5%. You don't play these guys. You don't play your veterans, and they lose 26-9. You're happy because you gave opportunity to the young guys. They didn't give any opportunity to young guys. They played all the veterans, played Pacheco, played Creed Humphrey, played Trey Smith, played Travis Kelce, played Juju, played all these guys, and they lost bad. They haven't scored a touchdown since the first quarter of the Chargers game. I mean, it's the I don't want to say, and I don't want to. I'm not here to call for Andy Reid's head. And like I said, there's reports of Matt Nagy is basically confirming he's gone. But I don't know what they could do to change the mindset. I don't know if there's a coach or a guy that could come in and change the mindset of Andy Reid. I don't know if there is. I don't know, without moving on from Andy Reid, you're going to get as much change as you want, is what I kind of, because no matter what, yes, they're going to have a new offensive coordinator. So you bring in the guy from the Rams, their offensive coordinator, or their QB coach, or you bring in Cliff Kingsbury, who has a great relationship with Patrick Mahomes, or you bring in Doug Peterson, comes from the tree of Andy Reid, or you bring in Mike McDaniels, who is was somewhat of a phenom in Miami, but has struggled recently. But you bring him as the offensive coordinator. Do I think that you'll see some visible changes? Yes, especially like Mike McDaniels. He's got like kind of a certain offense, a certain way that they run the ball, things like that. So you'll see those visible changes. But I think for the most part, you're not going to get off of the Andy Reid scheme in totality of things. Andy Reid has always said he controls 51% of the company. He has 51% of the vote. So when it comes down to it, it's his decision, no matter what. So yes, it would be nice if you had Cliff Kingsbury, who can come in and has a great relationship coaching Mahomes in college, and you can hit the ground running. You don't have to worry about relationship. You're just worried about scheme, developing, and getting back into a rhythm. Yes, that would be a great option. Or even bring in Mike McDaniels, who has this different style of offense, can bring in new plays, things like that. But I think that it's a bigger picture, and I just don't think there's a way to get out from Andy Reid. And I think Andy Reid is the one that, in the grand scheme, he's the one that's going to have to go. And I'm not trying to call for his head. I'm not here to put his head on a spike and say, Andy Reid, you're horrible. He's a Hall of Fame coach, one of the greatest coaches of all time. I'm just a guy that has a mic and says crazy things. I'm not saying that I know more, but my opinion is that no matter if Matt Nagy is gone and they bring in whoever else, Andy Reid is the head coach, and Andy Reid controls everything. So no matter what, if they take a running back in the first round, or if they go sign a crazy running back, the Chiefs are not going to be a running team. They will never get off of being a running team. That's just not who they are. That's not the personnel they rock. That's not the type of players they want on the team. You've seen this prototype receiver they want ever since they lost Tyreek Hill. Short, fast, not very big. They haven't had this extreme running back where that you can guarantee get 1,000 yards or be that workhorse in the backfield. They don't do that. That's not Andy Reid's thing. So even if you went and got Mike McDaniels, who can drop these crazy plays for running backs and figures out ways how to get guys in motion and create confusion, and you throw a toss to Devon Achane, you're not getting Devon Achane. Half of the battle in that is, yes, Mike McDaniels can draw a great play, but he has Devon Achane, who's the running back that can make a few guys miss and turn somewhat of a nice design to a 60-yard house call touchdown. So there's kind of like, it's personnel, but I just don't think the Chiefs are going to. Andy Reid's not going to let the reins go. He's not letting the reins go to the next offensive coordinator. So, do I see some guy that I think would have an ego like Mike McDaniels or Cliff Kingsbury or Doug Peterson? I don't know if they'll go to that extent because Andy Reid's not giving up the reins. Andy Reid's not giving the control to the offensive coordinator. Andy Reid, yes, they'll have plays, but it's Andy Reid's playbook. It won't be Mike McDaniel's playbook. It won't be Cliff Kingsbury's playbook. Yes, they'll have input, but at the end of the day, it's Andy Reid's playbook. So, do I think the Chiefs are going to move on from Andy Reid? Absolutely not. Andy Reid is definitely, they've already reported that he's not retiring. He will be back. He is a Hall of Fame coach. He is a world-class coach. And the Chiefs owe him, I don't want to say everything, but they owe him a lot for turning this organization around and being part of it. But I don't think you're going to get Andy Reid. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Andy Reid is an old dog, and you're not teaching him new tricks. So the scapegoat is Matt Nagy, but I've been saying this for weeks. I've known Matt Nagy's going to be gone. Whether it was fired, he leaves, whatever. You could just tell because he's going to be the one that gets he's taking the blame. He is the scapegoat. But Andy Reid is really the one that should be taking the brunt of the blame. He should be the one that needs to look in the mirror and say, my time as a play caller, my time as a play designer is done. And I need to give it up to someone else younger, someone more creative. The league has changed and they figured out my play style. I need to allow Doug Peterson to come in here and change everything, or I need to allow Cliff Kingsbury to work with Mahomes and change everything. That is what I truly think needs to happen. I just don't see it happening because I don't think Andy Reid is giving up the reins. So there's not much else to say about the loss versus the Titans. I mean, I'm glad they lost again because we're trying to get a better draft pick. We're trying to get, I think I read that the Chiefs can, if they lose out and things fall certain ways, the best pick they can get is number 8. When is the last time you've seen the Chiefs pick in the top 10? I mean, it's been years. And again, you want to tank, and I put air quotes because the NFL is supposed to keep this kind of, they don't want teams tanking necessarily and coming out and saying we're losing on purpose because you want to keep a certain brand. But the Chiefs should tank because it doesn't only help you get a top 10 pick. Let's say you get pick 8. You're picking pick 8 in round 1. Round 2, you're picking 38. And in the years past, your first pick was at 28. So it's like you're almost getting 2 players at the same pick-ish when you lose more and you get a higher pick than you do when you've been successful. And of course, I'd rather be successful, but the Chiefs are in a situation where they need to lose out. And so, yes, it was great that they lost versus the Titans, but it wasn't great because it was a horrible performance. So that's my thought on the Titans loss. Let's move on to key free agents. So they brought up, and I have a screenshot on my phone here. They brought up some key free agents that are basically possibly leaving the Chiefs next season. And I think a majority, if not a lot of them, are going to be leaving. So we'll go through kind of we'll go through the list one at a time. And I kind of want to basically give my opinion on what I would want the Chiefs to do. And if I want them to bring him back, if I want them not to. And or if they would rather replace somebody in that position. So the list is as follows. First is Travis Kelce, which, of course, my opinion has always just been, I think it's just time, Travis. It's just time to retire. It's time to move on. Again, I would have Travis back if he felt like he wanted to do a farewell tour, but he would have to come back for like a veteran minimum. He just can't handicap the future of the Chiefs, and I don't think he'd be that type of guy. But I truly believe in his heart that I think this is his last game at Arrowhead coming up on Christmas. We mentioned earlier in the season, it's a great way to go out. It's on Christmas Day, primetime game. It would be awesome if I know I talked about the Chiefs. I want them to lose, and I definitely think they're going to lose to the Broncos. But wouldn't it be awesome if they beat the Broncos and cost the Broncos the 1 seed to the winning the AFC West to the Chargers? Because the Chargers can win 2 games, and one of them is against the Broncos. So basically, if the Chargers win out and the Broncos lose, Chargers win the AFC West. And a lot of Broncos fans have been talking crap. So it would just be kind of bittersweet to see the Chiefs beat the Broncos on Christmas Day. Now, again, I don't know if I want them to win because it's for draft pick position and things like that. But I wouldn't also hate it, especially being Travis Kelce last game at Arrowhead. So Travis Kelce, I think he's gone. Like I said, I think he's gone. I think he retires, and the Chiefs will be looking for a new tight end. My choice is Kyle Pitts. I think he'll be a hefty penny. But if you can get Kyle Pitts or trade back in the first round and draft the guy out of Oregon, Sadiq, and give Mahomes just a weapon and get another asset out of it, because I think taking him in the top 10 is a horrible decision. I don't think taking a tight end in the top 10 is a smart decision. But maybe at pick 20 and you end up getting, let's say you get pick 20 and then you get an additional third-round pick or something like that. I don't hate that. I don't hate the Chiefs gaining assets and also able to draft Kelce's replacement for the future. So those are kind of my 2 options or picks that I would do, is maybe take a swing on Kyle Pitts. He's looked really good this last few games. He had the best game of his career a few weeks ago. Or maybe possibly replacing him with Sadiq out of Oregon in the draft. Juju Smith-Schuster, honestly, I don't also hate keeping him. I do think he'll be gone. The reason why I don't hate keeping Juju, he knows the system. He knows the guys in the locker room. Having a veteran on the team that Mahomes has trust with, I think is a great thing, but he doesn't deserve 90% of the snaps in a game that you need to lose. So either way, I don't necessarily hate that the Chiefs, if they would keep Juju, like I said, it's just for a veteran presence. He might be your 5th or 6th best receiver on the team, but I also I wouldn't be mad if they let Juju walk. If Juju went somewhere else. I do think he likes playing in Kansas City. And again, I think he would take a hometown discount and come back to the Chiefs for a really good deal. So I don't hate it. But either way, I don't really care in the long run as far as if Juju plays for the Chiefs next year or not. Marquise Brown. So Hollywood Brown, this one's been kind of iffy because I think Hollywood Brown has underperformed in a sense. Now, he was injured last year, but I remember like watching Hollywood Brown play for the Ravens. I remember watching him play for the Cardinals, and I thought he was, when the Chiefs signed him, I thought, wow, they've got they got a steal, especially for how much they paid him. I want to say like his contracts the past few years have been like $7 million a year, which seemed really low for Hollywood Brown for what I thought his talent was. But I think he's very underperformed these last few years, and I don't think that he's coming back either. I think they're going to try to get some new faces in the receiver room. I know that he's got good chemistry with Worthy. I know he's got good chemistry with Rashee Rice. But I think they got to change the prototype receiver that they have in the locker room. They have too many small, quick guys. They need some bigger body receivers. So, you can only have so many of the same type of guy in the locker room. But, I think he's been a productive receiver, and he's got good chemistry with Mahomes, but I just don't think that he's going to come back. So the next one is Isaiah Pacheco. So, I think I've been pretty vocal about this. Isaiah Pacheco's gone. He's done. Went to Shields over the weekend. His jerseys were 50% off. You could buy his jersey as a kid size for $20. So if you need a last minute Christmas gift, go to Shields and get your kids a $20 Isaiah Pacheco jersey. They're literally selling them for $20. So he's gone. I think everybody kind of knows it. And it's just, like I said, it's one of those things like you'd take him back as like a 3rd string running back. But other than that, I don't want him. I don't want him back. I just think it's time to move on. Again, I said this 2 years ago that I think he is going to get screwed. And what I meant by that is he was a 7th round pick that overproduced, and running backs have the shortest lifespan in the league when it comes to the position. They average about 3 years in the league, and he overperformed, had a 1,000-yard season even, and honestly, he's probably not going to get a payday because he got injured. And so it's unfortunate for him, but you have to make those tough decisions, and I think it's time to move on from Isaiah Pacheco. Next is Kareem Hunt. Now, Kareem Hunt, I think, has been, for what you've asked him to do, he's been incredible, honestly. Coming off the couch last year and basically being your bell cow back, stepping into a role, I mean, was incredible. And then this year, I think he's been awesome in the situations you're asking him to be in, which is third and short and kind of that second running back on your roster. So I don't hate it, but it's also like, if you're going to let a bunch of guys go, let's just clean house and get new faces, new legs in the door. So, they have Rashard Smith under contract going into next season at running back. Do I think that they might bring Kareem Hunt? Maybe, but you're still probably going to see them draft a running back in the first 3 rounds, and then they're going to sign another running back as well. Side note, I really think an underrated pick that won't cost the Chiefs too much. Again, I don't think the Chiefs are going to change their scheme where they need a Saquon Barkley or they need Christian McCaffrey or something like that. Is Tyler Algieri, I think, from the Falcons. He'll be a free agent going into this offseason. That's somebody that I think I want them to sign in free agency. I think he's a kind of a Kareem Hunt-esque larger back, that kind of your third and short goal line back. And I think that would be kind of a better option. He's younger. He's like 25 or 26. So, and I think you can get him for similar price to Kareem Hunt. So that's something that I probably want them to replace Kareem Hunt with rather than trying to bring the boys back. But moving on, Gardner Minshew. So honestly, I think Gardner Minshew's horrible. I don't think he's a good backup quarterback. You saw what Olajuwon could do with a bag of chips against the Titans, and I think Gardner Minshew, I didn't think he was a great starter, and I definitely don't think he's played good as a backup in the moments that he has for the Chiefs. I've heard people wanting Jameis Winston, or I even saw my friend sent me a post today about Russell Wilson. I wouldn't mind Jameis Winston. I think would be fun. It would add some fun to the Chiefs. I don't want Russell Wilson. I just think you're asking for some point Russell Wilson to get in the game, and he's just not as good as he has been. I don't know what backup quarterback I would want. It's luckily we haven't had to think about it too much over Mahomes' career. There's been points where you've relied on Chad Henne to win you a game against the Browns and move you on in the playoffs. Or, just there's moments where these backup quarterbacks come in. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, J-Mo would be fun. Jameis Winston. But it depends. Like I said, I don't really have a backup quarterback in mind that I would want the Chiefs to sign. So I'm not necessarily hating on Gardner Minshew. If they brought him back for the right price, cool. But the goal is not to play the backup quarterback, so I don't really care. Next up is Leo Chenal. So Leo Chenal will be a free agent. And so he put out a kind of a cryptic Instagram post, basically kind of saying, I don't know if he's hearing like he's not going to get re-signed, or he's hearing, that they're still negotiating or what. But he kind of put out a cryptic Instagram post basically saying like, it was fun while it lasted, or something of that nature. So it's very possible that you're going to lose Leo Chenal, who is one of your better defensive players, especially one of the top 3 linebackers on your team. But he's also just a freak athlete that you can kind of put anywhere on the field in the front 7. So again, a lot of these guys got to come back for the right price. I don't want to overpay for a linebacker like we did with Nick Bolton. We've made that mistake once, overpaying for Nick Bolton. So I don't want to overpay for Leo Chenal. But at some point, some of these guys you do want to retain, because you don't want that many new faces in the locker room necessarily. Again, you do want kind of fresh legs. You do want they call fresh blood, but you also want some guys that can integrate and pick up right where they left off. And I think Leo Chenal is one of those guys. So if he comes back for the right price, I want him back. I don't want to overpay him, but I definitely would bring him back. Next up is Jalen Watson. So this might be kind of a hot take, but I think they should re-sign Jalen Watson I think you can get him for like a team-friendly deal. He's been, I think, considered one of the better number two corners, but I also think he's been very underrated. And I don't want them to re-sign McDuffie. I think I want them to trade him this offseason. And so to have Jalen Watson be your one is kind of iffy, like your number one corner. I don't think Jalen Watson's a number one corner, but I would take him. And if they can make a splash on a big pass rusher this offseason, I would take him as my number one corner. At least you have a familiar face, and we know kind of Brett Beach's history being able to draft corners. We know Noah Williams is going to be, I think, a stud. He'll be probably like the next L'Jarius Sneed 2.0. That's just kind of the vibe I get in the way he plays. So having him and Noah Williams on the outside is not a terrible duo. Again, it's not like what it was a few years ago with Sneed and McDuffie as being like the best duo in the league. I'm not saying the Chiefs will have that, but if you're not going to pay McDuffie, you got to pay Jalen Watson. You can't lose your top two corners. So don't be surprised if they do pay Jalen Watson if they don't pay McDuffie. Derek Nottie, horrible. I mean, that was just a waste of a trade with the Jets to bring him back. Hasn't done much at all. Don't care. And then the last two is Charles Omenihu. Again, I think a horrible decision to bring him back. He hadn't really been the same since he injured his I think he had an ACL injury as well a few years ago. So he has never been the same. And he's gotten a sack here or there, but not what you want as a number two pass rusher or number three pass rusher. He just hasn't performed. So I don't want Charles Omenihu back. You need somebody younger, somebody fresher who can get to the quarterback. And then Brian Cook. So we mentioned Brian Cook earlier about being injured and kind of getting Jaden Hicks more playing time, things like that. I actually like the idea of signing Brian Cook. I think you can get him for a good deal, and having that somewhat two locked in corners or safeties, a Brian Cook and Jaden Hicks. And then you can go find a veteran and then maybe draft a guy or something like that, or keep Chamari Connor. You've got him under contract. So you have a few pieces. And if you're going to lose Trent McDuffie, possibly lose Jalen Watson, you don't want to lose your entire secondary. And I think Brian Cook's played good. I don't think he's the ball hawk guy that's going to lock down somebody, but he's a great tackler for what it's worth. And I don't think he makes a lot of mistakes. And I know that's maybe not the best mindset to bring somebody back or sign them. But for what it's worth, I think that they should bring Brian Cook back because I think he's played well enough to earn a contract. And I think you can get him for a good price. So those are kind of the notable free agents, the big names. Of course, there's some smaller ones, and you'll see guys get cut as well. We mentioned like Drew Tranquil. I think he'll probably get cut. Christian Fulton will get cut. You'll see Juwan Taylor get cut. So there's a lot of guys that are going to get either let walk, Travis Kelce probably retire, or you're going to see a bunch of guys get cut. So the 2026 Chiefs are going to look much different than this team ending this year in 2025 for sure. So those are kind of the free agents. So let's move on to the big news that broke yesterday and kind of took the sports world by storm is the Kansas City Chiefs are officially moving from Missouri to Kansas. So the Kansas City Chiefs are officially moving from Missouri to Kansas, which is maybe one of the biggest, I would say, I don't want to say moments, but one of the bigger things in Kansas history. Let's just talk about the state in general. One of the biggest things in Kansas history, bringing a professional sports team to Kansas, where, again, I'm a guy that grew up in Kansas my entire life. I've lived here my entire life, born in the KC Metro, Wyandotte County, lived there for 25 years and just live on the outskirts now, a county over. It's a huge economic impact, not only for the county and for the people of Wyandotte County, but just in general for the state of Kansas and for the Metro. It's going to be such an impact. I grew up in that area where it was before the Legends. It was cows and cornfields and pastures. And I remember their Wendy's was one of the first places they put in down there. They tore down a house and they put a Wendy's in, and it was like, holy cow. They put the gas station in with a Subway, and you were like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And it turned in from that to boom, we have the Legends, and the Legends is growing into they brought the racetrack, then the Legends, and then You started to add businesses. They brought Cerner, who's now not there, but then they bring in American Royal over all these things. And it just continued to develop over the last 25 years. And they hit a home run and slam dunk and get the Chiefs to make the jump. And it's crazy because I think if you were a casual Chiefs fan or even a Missourian, a diehard Missourian Chiefs fan, you probably just thought like there's no way it happens. There's no way they make that move. There's no way they leave that nostalgic Arrowhead. There's no way that they pick up and leave the legacy that Lamar Hunt has left his son Clark Hunt. And Jackson County voters ended up they called the bluff of the Chiefs and they lost. I mean, essentially that's what happened. And I don't know all the politics side of things. I don't know if I care that much about the political side of things because that's just stuff that goes over my head and it's hard to understand sometimes. But I know that the star bond thing is a big deal. And I know it's a big conversation of, Kansas is basically giving billionaires a bunch of tax money to build a stadium. But you have to think bigger picture as far as what it does for the team, what it does for the metropolitan that it's moving to, that the tax dollars is going to bring in the attraction of bringing in, outsiders or tourists or things like that who are going to spend money in the county, who are going to spend money in the state. It's going to be a good thing because you're going to get more people to come to this new stadium. Maybe people that have gone to Arrowhead, but now they want to go to the new Arrowhead, or I've heard people call it Arrowhead West. I don't know what the name is going to be called, but I think Arrowhead West will be pretty cool. That's my vote. So it's one of those things that's like, I don't know. It's kind of tough to, I love it, but I feel for the people that don't. I think it's a little haterish that you're considering dropping your Chiefs fandom because they went from Missouri to Kansas. Like, to me, that seems like it's a border war thing versus you really love the team. You're choosing, I of course Missourians are probably pissed, but you're choosing to hate the team because they're going 25 minutes west from where you live. That doesn't make a lot of sense. It's more of that kind of that inbred Kansas border war, Kansas Missouri border war that has been put in so many of the Kansas City metro people. And so again, I don't think it's a big deal that they leave Jackson County and come to Kansas. I think it's a huge deal that they're going to get a dome. I think it's going to be a brand new facility. You're going to still get the aspect of tailgating. Now, do I think it's going to be the same as it is at Arrowhead currently? Probably not. I mean, honestly, probably not. They're probably going to do a mixture of things that you can, but you're probably not going to get the same thing. But you're going to have all this entertainment there. They're going to build up these entertainment places. They're getting a brand new practice facility in Olathe where training camp should be really fun, and you're going to probably get more people than ever to come to training camp. Excuse me. Training camp has been in St. Joe for the last, I don't know how long. And I've been for the last 4-ish years, I think. And it's awesome to go, but it's so far for a lot of people that live in the areas of, Kansas City. It's so far to wake up that early and drive that far versus now in Olathe. It's much closer for a lot of people that are in the Kansas City metro. And again, I don't know the tax dollar side of it and all that. From what I heard, it's basically Kansas has used the gambling money that they've earned. They've kind of saved it, put together this star bond thing that basically gives the Chiefs a loan to pay for all of this. And in return, it gets paid back by the sales tax that is then from the sales tax from the events or from the shops or restaurants, things like that happen within the project. So if, the games, the concerts, all that, they go back to the state of Kansas to pay back the star bond. And so as a Kansan, I see a lot of people are saying like, it's a horrible deal for Kansans. They're using tax dollars. They're not taking any tax dollars from the citizens of Kansas. They are using the tax dollars from the sales tax. So yes, there could have been additional tax that was brought into the state, but you used it to build the stadium. So it's kind of a trade-off, and it's a wash in my eyes. So I think it's a great kind of thing for the Metro. They're gonna move and officially be in, if everything kind of goes according to plan, the 2031-2032 season. So Mahomes, I think, will be like 34 or maybe 35 or something. So we'll see. Mahomes I'm assuming he's going to be playing until that age, so he'll get to go and play in the new Kansas side, new stadium. They talked about it being smaller, which is kind of the trend for these new stadiums. Arrowhead currently holds like 76,000, and I think the new stadium is going to hold like 65 to 68. But who knows? I mean, that's just speculation. They haven't came out with anything. There's no renderings. There's no pictures. There's no design. Nothing is done yet, other than that they've officially said they're going to move. I don't think even a site has been picked out. The industry that I work in, we have a decent ear in the connections of some of these things. So I have a decent idea of where I think it's going to go between two places. But of course, everybody has their own sources and everybody has their own speculation. So, but I think it's a great thing for the state of Kansas. I think for the aspect of the Chiefs, I don't know what else it changes. I mean, again, you're just really talking about losing Arrowhead, losing that nostalgia. Again, I get if you have a lineage of family that has gone to Chiefs games and for 70 years, and you've had the same season ticket in, section 330, row 20, seat 10, and your family's owned that entire row for 70 years. I get it. I get that you're going to lose the nostalgia of Arrowhead. You're losing everything. There's a famous, I think it's Lot J is what they call them, in the parking lot where they do tailgating and barbecue and all these things. They're like a very kind of well-known area there at when you're tailgating for the Chiefs. A lot of those traditions and things are just going to go away. And a lot of people are like done. They're like, well, I'm not a fan anymore. And it's like, man, you guys really you valued the stadium and you valued the experience more than the team. Like, you're not willing to support them going to a new stadium and creating new memories and new tradition, things like that. Like, to me, that's not, you were tied to the experience more than you're tied to the team or cheering for the team. You were tied to how fun it is versus cheering for the team itself and supporting the team and hoping that they're good and hoping that they're winning, things like that. I get the nostalgia of it. I get that side of it. So I don't want to necessarily like say that I think people that are mad or people that are upset that the Chiefs are leaving, that they're wrong. But I think it's a little skewed. I think that they're hurt, but I think it's like a deep down, like, feelings hurt more than like realistically. It's a good thing that the Chiefs are getting a new stadium. They had like they're like the third oldest stadium that's left. I think Buffalo has a pretty old stadium, but like they're one of like the oldest stadiums still in the league. 72 years old, I think, or something like that. 75 years old, 70 some years old. I mean, it was time. It was time to get a new stadium, especially with all the success and everything that the Chiefs have had over the last 10 years. I mean, that stadium is going to be awesome. I haven't been to any of these new stadiums like Las Vegas or I haven't been to SoFi or anything like that, but from what I've heard, they're incredible. And I imagine that they're going to go all out and make this, like, they're going to try to be the best stadium in the NFL. And they're going to give their respect to the nostalgia of, Kansas City history. And you're going to see statues of Lamar Hunt out front. You're going to see statues of Len Dawson, I'm sure. Like, all of these things are going to get intertwined. All of these things are going to be a part of the stadium, and you're going to see the culture of Kansas City and all these things. Again, I think it's just people that are upset that they are losing their tradition more than they're actually upset the team's leaving. Now, the economic impact and things of that nature on the Missouri side, that's a real conversation, and I can completely understand where people are frustrated in that aspect. I mean, you lost a huge part of your tax revenue by losing the Chiefs and all of the people that come into Missouri, even though there wasn't much to do after the games. I mean, people still probably spent good money in that area, going to the game, getting gas, all of these things. Like all of those things add up. And now you've lost the Chiefs, and you're probably going to lose the Royals. Let's be honest. I mean, it's rumored that they're possibly going to go downtown, but guys, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if the Royals didn't make the jump and come to the Kansas side either, especially if Kansas is handing out star bonds like they're hotcakes. If they're basically saying you can pay us back later, we'll donate the money, or we'll lend you the money up front and you pay us back over however many years. And that's essentially what they're going to do with the new Arrowhead Stadium. Is the Hunt family is not even going to own the stadium. The Hunt family is going to rent the stadium from the state of Kansas. The state of Kansas is going to own it because they are giving out a loan, the tax dollar, the $1.8 billion they're loaning to start construction and build. They're loaning that money, so they're going to own the stadium. And then the Hunt family has agreed to pay rent, essentially $7 million a year, to the state of Kansas. And honestly, what also I've read is that rent doesn't even go to the state of Kansas. Rather, it goes into an account that is then saved for renovations. So yes, do the state of Kansas and Kansas residents see a financial benefit or these huge income influxes because of the stadium? No, but they're also not paying anything either. And you're getting a professional sports team to come to your state. So a lot of people think the deal is like super sketchy and the star bonds are super sketchy. I think it was very creative, and I think it's a win-win for the state of Kansas, and I think it's a win-win for the Chiefs. Again, the taxpayers are not going to see anything kind of change. Again, they're not getting taxed. Again, what your taxes could have been, or what your tax dollars could have gone to, is affected. But me as a Kansas taxpayer, my taxes are not going to go up because the Chiefs are coming to Kansas. And again, that's a win. I think that's a win for everybody. And the Chiefs called Jackson County's bluff when they voted no last year. Now, was the proposal great, and was it a rush proposal and all that? Absolutely. But it was one of those situations where it's like, you thought the Chiefs weren't going to leave because you thought they owed you something, and they decided, we're going to go to I'm going to go get a new girl, is what they said. They're going to go get the flashier thing. And Kansas was like, we'll give you what you want. Here's a blank check. You tell us what it's going to take. So is it a big deal as far as the politics side of thing? I don't think so. I think it's a big deal for Kansas residents. I think it's a big deal for Wyandotte County. And it's just dear to my heart because that's where I'm from. That's where my wife is from. That's where our families grew up. We are both original Dot people, born and raised in Wyandotte County. So this to me just is dear to my heart because it's my hometown getting a sports team, getting my favorite sports team. And so I love it. I truly love it. And I'm super excited. I'm hoping I can find some way to be part of the project with my job. Excuse me. I'm hoping I can find a way to be part of it, get a piece of the pie. So if anybody can get this to Clark Hunt, anybody can get this to Mark Donovan, get it to him and let him know, contact me. I want to be a part of it. I'm asking on a live show. I want to be a part somehow in developing this new stadium. Again, it's dear to my heart. It's awesome. I think it's an amazing thing, and I'm just super excited about it. So, all right, let's move on to the final topic, which is we're talking about the Christmas Day game. And again, there's not much to go over other than the few things that we've said before, which is we want the Chiefs to lose. When it breaks down to it, we want them to lose because of the draft pick. We want them to try to get as low as possible. So I'm not expecting the Chiefs to come out and give this huge effort. Now, I've seen crazier things, and I've seen, it's possible that somehow the Broncos blow it and the Chiefs end up winning, but that's just not what we want. So What we do want to see, though, is we want to see the young guys get opportunity. We want to see young guys getting opportunity to play. We want to see young guys getting opportunity to get more snaps and being available, so that we can evaluate for 2026 and see. You got to see what you got. You have 2 games left to really evaluate. And again, I'm treating these like preseason games. We had 3 preseason games at the beginning of the season, and we have an opportunity to have 3 preseason games at the end of the season to evaluate. So it'll be awesome time. I think if you want to get to Arrowhead over the next 5 years before it's gone, and you got the opportunity to go, kudos to you. I'm sure the tickets are probably pretty cheap. It's a night game, which is interesting on Christmas Day. But other than that, I mean, it might be Travis Kelce's last game at Arrowhead, and I'm sure you'll probably see him very emotional if it is, and you'll probably start to get that feeling that this is his last game. So it's if you got time, you got availability. Again, I think tickets are pretty cheap. I heard that you can get lower level for under $100. So it's a good game to go to if you got time. Again, I know it's not something that's that valuable or matters necessarily. The game doesn't matter, but you never know. Could be Travis Kelce's last game. Or you might see the Chiefs spoil the Broncos winning the AFC West, and I think everybody would love to see that too. So other than that, guys, I appreciate you for stopping in. This is Skin in the Game, hosted by Austin Thompson, aka OZ. Follow everywhere on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, everything. Twitter at SITG Show. Going live every Tuesday, 7 to 8. We're going to continue going, and as the season kind of ends and we start getting to playoffs, we'll start discussing things outside of the Chiefs, and shows might get a little shorter, but I'm continuing to have fun. And, just as people pop in, don't be afraid to ask a question or anything. I want to turn this into more of an interactive show where people are asking questions or we're initiating conversations. So don't feel like you can't leave a comment. And like I said, I'll throw it up on the screen and we can have a discussion. So again, thanks for joining. Merry Christmas to everybody. Enjoy the time with your families. Let's and hopefully enjoy a nice game to watch. Maybe have it on in the background of the Chiefs playing the Broncos. But Merry Christmas, and we'll catch you guys next Tuesday. Peace.